Welcome to Trial by Wine. We take a closer look at crimes that highlight how fascinating humans can be. Schmitty, Swanee and Clarky visit crimes and run them through their jury of three, debating both sides of the case to agree an appropriate, if totally fictitious, sentence. Please be advised, Trial by Wine may include explicit or disturbing content and will include drunken rambling. Listener discretion is advised. All right. How are we all?
Very well, thank you. And you?
I'm getting good, yeah.
How's
I'm
your
working and
good.
everything.
Are you
Yeah.
cartwheeling?
Oh, no, cartwheeling is a while off, I think,
Okay.
but I'm definitely walking and I've been doing hydrotherapy.
Wow.
So I feel like one of those, ladies who lunches or something because I have to go to my hydrotherapy. But it's really interesting because I went on Monday and I felt like I spent 40 minutes doing nothing in the pool and then I was exhausted afterwards. Obviously, it does do something, but I'm moving fine a little bit because I'm doing more rehab. It's hurting more, but I think that was part and parcel. You can't have major surgery and get away with never feeling anything. So, no, I'm happy with my progress. And how about you
You seem
guys?
very upbeat.
Yeah, I'm feeling good
Well, it's
today.
about 7 weeks today or something?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Correct.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, and you guys?
2 words, school holidays.
Oh, your favourite time. Spend all that good
Goodness.
quality time with the
Yes.
kids.
After our very flamboyant last school holidays, this one's very much not. So I will leave it at that. But yes, I think I'm day 7 or something like that. So we're getting there. All good. What about you, Clarky?
Look, if I feel like I've got nothing to say, I've been travelling for work last night, so took a customer out and got drunk, which was fun. Tomorrow night, though, this is exciting. We're going to the winery up the road. We're doing an Italian night. And so Stuart and I have bought Mario Brothers costumes to wear.
Oh,
So, there's a little, I don't know, what are they, red and green or something?
yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
Bitchy's got it.
They come with fake moustaches and everything, so can't wait.
That'll be fun. That'll be good. And what are we drinking?
Swanee, come on.
Oh, even
You know
by my
you want
standards,
to.
tap water. But cold
Soda
tap water.
Stream. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not using it for that. Embarrassingly. So I've got to drive in a little while. So
Yeah, that's
it's no drinking for me. What about you, Pear? I hope you can certainly add some colour after me being so dull and boring. Schmitty?
Oh, well, I've got we don't
Funny
film
you should
ourselves,
ask.
but funny you should ask. I actually have. I was showing the guys before we started. I have an ice bucket here, which has got some mango chutneys in it, and a Pepsi Max, and a diet non-alcoholic ginger beer.
Oh, I wonder
It
if
looks
we
like it's been styled.
Oh, well, that's just the way I throw things together.
I know. It looks like you've gone, I need to make it look like it's party ready. So I've got some ice and some cruisers and some cans ready to go.
Just
It's
saves
like,
me
who's
having
that
to get
for?
up. It's just easier than getting up. So there was a method to my madness. I wasn't just
Presentation
being
is
silly.
important. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. How are you going to present your drink, Clarky?
Well, I was
Hard
just
to
going to
match
say,
that.
yeah, it is. I feel like we should take a photo of it, though, for our...
Happy to do so.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
it just looks
Presentation.
so good. I just don't know how to do it because I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed.
I can do a photo. Or yes.
But can you
Okay.
hold it up like that and do
Yes,
a
I
pho-
will. Yeah. You can do
Oh,
it.
there's nothing you can't do.
Oh, I'll turn around the other way.
It's not
need
putting
to-
it to their side. That's better.
We
Yeah,
need
thank
your
you.
head in as well.
That's now you're asking. Hang on.
That's better. Yeah.
I love
That's
it.
Caroline
I love
effort
it.
for this afternoon's
I love
recording.
it. Hang
Nothing
on.
if not committed.
There we go.
Do you think you'll have enough?
Oh, I hope so.
Save as
Touch and go.
Schmitty.
All right. And that's why, and I'm also wearing my best nightgown. That's all, folks, that I got from Kmart for $12 before I had surgery.
It's such a good photo. Can I just show you quickly?
Oh, that's good.
Such
That's
a
a
good
classic.
picture. Yeah, I love it. That's one of
The
our
only problem is, I
greatest.
don't think I've ever seen Schmitty look what I would call short. You look
I know,
short.
I
You
know,
look like you
yeah,
go down.
she's
my neck down.
It
Yeah.
doesn't look like you're little stumpy, which no
Yeah.
one will have ever
Necklace.
called you in your whole life.
Necklace Schmidt, that's what they call me. Yeah. Clarky, what are you drinking?
Oh,
Tell us.
have a guess.
Is it wine from Halden?
Well, no, but it is wine because, as Carla likes to remind me, this is trial by wine.
Trial by wine, not trial by mango chutney. Yeah.
I do like to
Or trial
do
by
it.
tap water.
So we've got a All Saints Estate
Oh,
2021
nice. A
Marsanne.
Marsanne. Beautiful.
It's very flavoursome. I do like it.
Nice packaging.
Yeah, they do well.
It's nice.
Yes.
Cool. And just in case anyone's missed it, I'm Schmitty.
I'm Swanee.
And I'm Clarky. And together we are
Trial
by Wine. And mango chutney and water.
Water. Trial
And
by
anything
water.
else that we happen to have on hand, and Soda Stream and Pepsi Max, yes. All right, so without further ado, Clarky, what have you got for us today?
Well, I have a very odd tale. This one is the disappearance of Elisa Lam. I don't know if either of you have heard it.
No.
Right, go on.
So it's a story of it's as odd because of what happens to Eliza as it is because of where it happens. So I'll start by telling you a little bit about Eliza, then I'll tell you a little bit about where it happens, and then we'll go into the mystery of her disappearance.
Cool.
So you tell me when you're ready, and I'll start yapping.
Oh, yeah, go
I'm
for
ready
it.
to go.
For it. Yep.
Okay. Eliza Lam, she was Canadian, daughter of immigrants from Hong Kong, and she was a student at the University of British Columbia in Canada. Mm-hmm. And she used to do a bit of blogging. So she had a blog named Ether Fields, and then she went into changing to Nouvelle Nouveau, and a lot of it was about how she was feeling as well as fashion photos and quotes and whatnot. And one of her quotes was, "You're always haunted by the idea you're wasting your life." And so
Tell me about it.
so that was a quote from Chuck Pahalniuk. Somebody else can say that much better than
Nailed
me.
it.
But I just wanted to give him credit for that because it wasn't Eliza's quote. And it's, God, I knew I was going to do this. Her name is Elisa, so Elisa. But I
And
think
is she a lamb, Lam?
she is a lamb, Lam.
It took me a while because when you started to say that, I thought that's a really unusual. Then I went, ooh, Carla, I don't think it's got the
Hong
B because
Kong.
she's the daughter of,
Well, where'd you
Yeah,
say
yeah.
she's from? Was it
Yeah,
Chinese
Hong-
immigrants?
Her parents were from Hong Kong.
Yep,
So
yep.
Elisa, where are we at?
Elisa.
Elisa. Yeah.
Elisa.
Elisa.
Right, like my sister,
All right.
who we all call Hub.
Correct. Exactly
Club
right. Hub Club. Yeah, so she used to post a lot about the way she was feeling as well as, fashion and quotes that she liked. But "you're always haunted by the idea you're wasting your life" was kind of the main quote that the blogs were about.
Okay.
And she'd also been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and depression. I've got this thing about bipolar disorder because of Homeland. Did you ever watch Homeland with Claire Danes in it?
No, I know what you're talking about, but no, I never watched it.
I just
Too scared to watch it at the time.
Was it scary?
No, it wasn't.
For me, it was.
scary.
For
Really?
me, it would be. It was all about terrorists. At the time, we
Yeah,
were
it
living in
was.
France. Trust me, it wasn't a great
true.
time
Yeah,
watching
yeah.
that at that
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
It was a bit confronting. But yeah, there were lots of people over there who did watch it.
Yeah,
She's such a good character, and she has bipolar
Really?
disorder.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so I almost love bipolar disorder because of her role in that show, and it just shows, I guess, what a good
It's
bit
your
of
favourite mental
positive
health
role
issue,
model.
is it?
Well, kind of. I met someone the other day whose wife had bipolar, and I didn't meet his wife. I just met him. But I wanted to meet his wife because I wanted to see whether her bipolar disorder was like Carrie's, because it's interesting. Well, like when she's being medicated, she's really kind of sedate, but she doesn't do her best work until she's off her meds. And so then her bipolar disorder
hyper.
kind of really helps her. So, yeah, when she has these moments where she's super hyper, but she does really good work at the same
On
time.
that spectrum, is there like at one end that you're hyper and at the other end you're depressed? Like is
That's
it the
exactly
high
what it
and
is.
the
Yeah, the
low?
highs and the
And the
lows.
medication brings you to the central point?
Correct.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so in
Okay.
some
Did
ways
they used to call it manic depressive instead of
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
You're right. Oh, I hadn't made that
back in
connection.
the olden
yeah.
days?
Yeah,
Back in the
yeah.
oldie days, yeah. You're
And
right.
so in some ways it sort of kills your highs and your lows, which can make you feel like you're not alive. I
feeling
think.
anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's
Isn't it
kind
what
of...
Kanye West has?
Oh,
It's just
God.
got dickhead syndrome.
Yeah.
That's the problem with him, isn't it? It's hard to...
My,
It's
my
not his
diagnosis.
bipolar disorder that I dislike about Kanye if he does have it.
Correct, yes. It's just his personality.
Yeah, correct. It's everything else. it's how little he is like Claire Dane, I guess.
Okay.
Or Carrie in the
Or her
movie.
character, yes.
Anyway, so she'd been prescribed several medications for her mental health issues, and according to her family, who kept her mental illness private, she had no history of suicidal ideations or attempts, although one report claimed she had previously gone missing for a brief period. Haven't we all?
Okay.
You know, I went missing for a brief period when I ran away from kindergarten. But that's another story.
I tried to run away once, and Mum said, "Good, off you go."
Yeah.
So I didn't run
once? I used to do it
I ran
constantly.
away from home all the time.
away. It didn't work. She said, "Go, fine, see if I care." And so I thought, "Oh, okay, I won't then."
There's a story in from my old neighbourhood where I used to, threaten to run away a little bit. I think not often, but probably no more less than anybody else. But I think I had done something wrong and I'd threatened to do it again. So Mum was like, "Fine, the doorways, I'll help you pack your bags, whatever." So I ended up out on our front veranda. And Mum had closed the door, and you could see through our front window through to where the phone was in like the living room at the time on the wall. And Mum, well, I think I've mentioned before I'm adopted, and my mum, it's so awful, but it was so apt at the time. It's so 70s. She said she'd call the orphanage to send me back. In actual fact, I wasn't from an orphanage. So I was screaming and crying, and my next door neighbour, Auntie Joy, came over and said, "Carla, what's going on? What's going on?" And I said, "Oh, Mum's calling the orphanage." And so she knew straight away that I wasn't from an orphanage. So Auntie Joy just turned away and walked back home because she knew that I must have done something naughty. She was like, I'll leave it to them. I'm staying out of this. She's clearly not calling the orphanage because she's not from an orphanage.
Yeah.
You've been a little madam. Something's gone on. And I'm like,
Back in the days when parents were supported to parent instead of having
I know, it's really
called.
Some people really struggle when I tell that story, which I think is hysterical because I had obviously been terrible and there were lots of times where I was. But I think like, oh gosh, you can't
I came
say
from
that.
the school of tough love as well. Yeah.
It worked.
Yep.
True.
Sorry, Clarky.
No. Good chat.
Memory lane, just a little dance down memory lane.
Yes, it's good to digress. So she did have a history of not taking her bipolar medications and as a result on several occasions suffered hallucinations that would cause her to hide under her bed for refuge. And she was hospitalised at least once for these episodes. So that's kind of a snapshot of, I guess, her mental state and the potential for her to be up and down. Anyway, she did decide to go travelling to Los Angeles. And on the way, she was going, she went on the Amtrak buses, visited San Diego Zoo, posted photos there, and arrived in Los Angeles on the 26th of January. And after 2 days, she checked into the Cecil Hotel or Cecil Hotel near downtown Skid Row.
Oh, what year is this?
This is in 2012, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't that some hair thing? Yeah. Good hair.
Advanced hair, yeah.
Yeah. We've known that for a while. Yeah.
So initially she shared a room with some people on the hotel's 5th floor. However, her roommates complained about what the hotel's lawyer would later describe as certain odd behaviour, and she was moved to a room of her own after 2 days. According to the manager of the Cecil Hotel, she was leaving notes for her roommates that said go home and go away and would lock the door to the room and require a password for entry. I love that. So good.
I'm sure they really appreciate that in the moment.
Yeah.
You're fucking kidding me.
She was also, a few days prior to her disappearance, she attended a live taping of Conan, but was escorted off the premises by security due to disruptive behaviour.
Okay.
So that's the picture that you get of Elisa. She also used to call her mum and dad every day. So part of the deal when she was going travelling was that she had to call them every day just so that they knew that she was okay.
Okay.
So whilst travelling on it was 2013, January 31st, 2013, the day she was scheduled to check out of the Cecil Hotel and leave for Santa Cruz, her parents didn't hear from her. And so they called the Los Angeles police. Hotel staff who saw Elisa that day said she was alone, Outside the hotel, Katie Orphan, the manager of the last bookstore, which was a bookstore just next to the hotel, recalled seeing her that day. She said at the time she was outgoing, very lively and very friendly, and was getting a whole lot of books to take as gifts for her family, and was wondering how she was going to be able to carry them because she bought a big box of them. And
I was going to say the same thing. I was like, never a good thing. Books are heavy as gifts.
yeah. And
or to bring home from travels.
And she actually ended up getting people to bring the books to the hotel for her because she was struggling to carry them all.
Okay.
Which brings me to my sources, and as per usual, I'm pretty average with this. So I've got Wikipedia as the main one, but there is a show on Foxtel, one of those crime channels that I'm very good at not quoting properly.
Investigation Discovery, perhaps?
Crime Scene, The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel. Which is on Netflix. Sorry, it's a 4-episode documentary. So, yeah, that's the other bit where I get a lot of the intel from. So, police searched the hotel to the extent that they legally could. They searched Lam's room and had dogs go through the building, including the rooftop, but the dogs were unsuccessful in detecting her scent.
How soon was this though, Clarky? Like, I mean, if most people's parents called from someone in LA and said, our daughter hasn't called us today, how long before they they didn't do it immediately, did they?
It was within a couple of days.
Okay, right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So they didn't search every room. They could only do that if they had probable cause to believe a crime had been committed, which they didn't have. However, on the 6th of February, so a week later, the LAPD decided they needed more help. So flyers with her image were posted in the neighbourhood and online, and it brought the case to the public's attention through the media. So that's the pre-story leading to her disappearance. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about the Cecil Hotel, which you probably haven't heard of either. I certainly hadn't.
I haven't. No, I
have. Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
Stayed there?
But you can tell us why.
Yeah, I'll tell you why.
I've heard of it, but tell me about it and I can tell you the bits of it I've heard of, yeah.
So the Cecil Hotel was built in 1924 by hotelier William Banks Hanna. It was supposed to be a destination hotel for international businessmen and social elites. He'd spent $1 million on the 700-room Beaux Arts style hotel.
700 room, that's huge.
Yeah, and $1 million in 1924.
In 1924 was a shit ton.
Yeah. So it's got this, opulent lobby that is quite remarkable. It had stained glass windows, palm trees, and a huge staircase. So it's quite impressive to see. However, he would come to regret his investment because just 2 years after the hotel opened, the world was thrown into the Great Depression.
Right.
And Los Angeles obviously wasn't immune to it. So soon enough, the area surrounding the Cecil Hotel would be dubbed Skid Row and become home to thousands of homeless people. So beautiful hotel in Skid Row, probably not the best location for a high-end hotel. And so the hotel soon gained a reputation as a meeting place for junkies, runaways and criminals. Worse yet, the hotel ultimately earned a reputation for violence and death.
Great.
So I'll tell you a little bit about it.
Has it got some good Yelp reviews?
Yeah, not so much. So in the 1930s alone, the Cecil Hotel was home to at least 6 reported suicides. A few residents ingested poison while others shot themselves, slit their own throats, or jumped out their bedroom windows. In 1934, for example, Army Sergeant Louis D. Borden slashed his throat with a razor. Less than 4 years later, Roy Thompson of the Marine Corps jumped from atop the Cecil Hotel and was found on the skylight of a neighbouring building. The next few decades only saw more violent deaths. So in September 1944, 19-year-old Dorothy Jean Purcell awoke in the middle of the night with stomach pains while she was staying at the Cecil with Ben Levine, 38. She went to the bathroom so as not to disturb a sleeping Levine, and to her complete shock, gave birth to a baby boy. She had no idea she'd been pregnant. Mistakenly thinking her newborn was dead, Purcell threw her live baby out the window and onto the roof of the building next door. At At her trial, she was found not guilty of murder by reason of insanity, and she was admitted to a hospital for psychiatric treatment. In 1962, 65-year-old George Gianni was walking by the Cecil Hotel with hands in his pockets when he was struck to death by a falling woman. Pauline Otten, 27, jumped from her 9th floor window after an argument with her estranged husband. Her fall killed both her and Gianni instantly. Police initially thought the two had committed suicide together, but reconsidered when they found Gianni still wearing shoes. If he had jumped, his shoes would have fallen off mid-flight.
They would have fallen off, yeah.
Is that right?
They must have been
the force.
slide-on ones or something, not...
Oh,
Even with the force, your shoes can come off. It's
Loafers.
gravity.
Oh, of course, Schmitty
Yeah, I
knows
know.
that.
I
Swanee.
know about these things.
Jesus.
Yeah.
He knows. So it's not really, it's one of those things that's sort of like, I would call it, I think in parlance, would you call it like nearly a halfway house? It's not, people aren't really using it as a hotel, are they?
Yeah.
It sounds
so
like people
It
are
just
popping
becomes
in,
real
or it's a very run
So it's still
down
got
kind of
this
cheap accommodation.
incredible
Incredible front.
and the lobby.
Facade, yeah.
The lobby,
Facade,
the lobby
absolutely,
more so.
yeah.
It's just still incredible. But then you just go up into shitty
still,
rooms
wow.
kind of thing. So
I think in the
Right.
documentary on Netflix, I think they said it's the first 6 floors are occupied by full-time
residents.
Yeah, the rest of it is still
Right.
a hotel.
Yeah. So in light of the suicides, mishaps and murders, Angelenos, people from Los Angeles maybe, promptly dumped the Cecil, the most haunted hotel in Los Angeles. So also, while tragic calamities and suicide have been contributed heavily to the hotel's body count, the Cecil Hotel has also served as a temporary home for some of the grisliest murderers in American history.
And that's why I know about the Cecil.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the mid-1980s, Richard Ramirez, who you might recall us talking about.
No, we talked about the other Night Stalker.
Yeah, that's right.
Richard Ramirez is the Night
correct.
Stalker.
Pre-Night Stalker.
The other one is the original
the later
Night Stalker.
And then we did the joke of the
This is the
early
lesser.
morning
Yeah,
stalker.
that's right.
And
That's right. This is the late one. Yeah.
yes. So he lived there in a room on the top floor of the hotel during much of his horrific killing spree. After killing someone, he would throw his bloody clothes into the Cecil Hotel's dumpster and saunter into the hotel lobby either completely naked or only in underwear, none of which would have raised an eyebrow since the Cecil in the 1980s was total unmitigated chaos. At the time, he was able to stay there for a mere $14 a night, and with corpses of junkies reportedly often found in the alleys near the hotel and sometimes even in the hallways, Ramirez's blood-soaked lifestyle surely raised hardly an eyebrow at the Cecil.
Yeah.
In 1991...
Just another day at the office.
Yeah, correct. In 1991, Austrian serial killer Jack Unterweger,
that's the other
who
one.
strangled prostitutes with their own bras, also called the hotel home. Rumour has it that he chose the hotel because of its connection to Ramirez.
And I think he's interesting because I think, I could be wrong, he either worked with the police or he wrote about his murders like he was, investigating it when in point of fact. I think he came over to America from Austria pretending to be an investigator. Well, he was a journalist and a photographer, I think.
He was a serial killer in Austria. And when he left Austria, the serial killing stopped and they started more or less at the same time in the Cecil Hotel. Yep. And he was absolutely saying that he was a reporter who was coming over to study the prostitution scene. So I guess that was his ruse.
Up close and personal, that study. Yeah, because he killed prostitutes.
Yeah.
From memory. Yep.
So, hang on a second, I'm going to...
Could you imagine turning up to stay at it?
I know, right?
Nightmare. It's terrifying.
Well, you wouldn't. You take one look and you'd be like, oh, I've made a mistake here. It looks
things
lovely
like
in
that
the
happen
photos. That
sometimes
lobby
when you
looks
arrive somewhere and
beautiful.
it's later. There are things that happen, probably not so much in Los Angeles, but how many times have you arrived somewhere and thought, oh, this is not what I thought it was going to be, or you don't feel quite safe, or it's in a neighbourhood, it's been misrepresented in some way, and there's nothing quite as unerring. Oh, God, that feeling.
And they talk about it that you walk in and you go, wow, what an amazing place I've chosen.
Yes.
And then you go up to the rooms and you're like, this is shit.
A mate of mine was telling exactly that story where she recently was overseas and she was in Dublin, I think, and she'd booked this expensive hotel that was like a thatched. It looked beautiful, right? Like it was all a 300, 500-year-old property with thatched roof and all the rest of it. But once you're inside, she said it was just appalling. And she got there, and because her partner's used to the like luxury and everything's nice, and she's like, I just felt so uncomfortable. But worse that it was a disgusting place on the inside. It was billed as in the heart of Dublin, and it was. So all you could hear were people like partying and fights in the street and all that sort of stuff. So it was exactly that scenario of coming to a hotel that you thought would be one thing and turned out to be an unmitigated disaster.
Yes.
Really unsettling.
And so, like, obviously there's the issues of serial killers and whatnot. There are also some
little things like that.
Thankfully that hasn't happened to me.
There's also some murders that have remained unsolved. So to pick one of many, a local woman known around the area as Goldie Osgood was found dead in her ransacked room at the Cecil. She'd been raped before suffering a fatal stabbing and beating. Though one suspect was found walking with bloodstained clothing nearby, he was later cleared and her killer was never convicted. Another instance of disturbing violence at the Cecil that had gone unsolved. Another grimly noteworthy guest of the hotel was Elizabeth Short, who became known as the Black Dahlia after her 1947 murder in Los Angeles.
Oh, my God.
She reportedly stayed at the hotel just before her mutilation, which remains unsolved. What connection her death may have to the hotel is not known, but what is known is that she was found on the street not far away on the morning of January 15 with her mouth carved ear to ear.
So possibly no connection at all.
Well, she stayed there and she was found not too far from it, but yes, not necessarily killed there.
Yeah.
So that then brings us back to Elisa Lam. So we're talking about a hotel that has a reputation for being, one that has had a lot of suicides, murders, serial killers, sort of stuff. And then that's important because what happens to Elisa is unusual and there's a lot of opinions as to what may have happened, and one of those is obviously that it happened at the Cecil Hotel.
The Cecil.
I have heard a lot of this about the Cecil Hotel from another podcast which is called And That's Why We Drink, and they do half and half, so does paranormal stories and then Christine does true crime. I haven't listened to them for a long time, but I do remember this because Em covered the paranormal aspects of the Cecil. And so you can imagine it's the kind of place that people would go to scare themselves witless, this idea of it being haunted,
like good Halloween kind of.
Yeah, but some people just love it and they go to places hoping to see a ghost or whatever. So, you can see that it could have that kind of appeal.
Now,
oh, totally. With a certain crowd, it would be like utterly infamous, I guess.
Right, so there is a video that I need to show you. It's going to go for about 4 minutes. So to our listeners, we won't make you listen through the 4 minutes.
Won't see it, strangely.
Someone remarkably will edit the 4 minutes. But I think it's important that you both see it so you can then what may have happened. So to put a bit of context around it, there is a very odd bit of elevator footage that becomes quite controversial because of Elisa's strange behaviour and also that there was some timestamp data missing and whatnot. That video was released on February the 13th, so nearly 2 weeks, when they'd still had no sign of Elisa. In approximately 2.5 minutes of footage for our listeners, Elisa alone makes unusual moves and gestures, leaving the elevator at one point whilst its doors remain open, even after she appears to have pressed every button. When the doors fail to close after she returns, she leaves and the doors close later. So the video drew worldwide interest due to her strange behaviour and has been extensively analysed and discussed online. So this story ended up getting a whole lot of amateur sleuths, I guess, and YouTubers who love to spend a lot of time trying to analyse what's happened. They were actually going and visiting the hotel. The hotel ended up having security people trying to stop them from going onto the 14th and 15th floors and, looking at the room that she stayed in or down the hallways and some of the exits. So it was reposted widely, including on a Chinese video sharing site where it got 3 million views and 40,000 comments in its first 10 days. Many of the commentators found the video unsettling to watch. Several theories emerged to explain her actions. One was that Elisa was trying to get the elevator car to move in order to escape from someone who was pursuing her. I don't think we saw that, did we?
I
But she
didn't.
does a lot of at the beginning when she gets in. It looks like she's trying to hide from someone because she
Yeah.
gets into the
Yes.
corner of the lift and
Yes.
she ducks down, and so there is an idea
And
that
she
she's
does
hiding.
that stick
But
out
then
and
she's
looks both ways.
yeah, it's like are they
Yeah,
still there
yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah, so there are a few things that make you think
Yep.
maybe, but then all that gesticulating afterwards
Yeah.
and some of
Yeah.
it's weird.
Others suggested she might be under the influence of ecstasy or some other party drug. And when her bipolar disorder became known, the theory that she was having a psychotic episode also emerged. Other viewers
Occam's razor.
Other viewers argued that the video had been tampered with before being made public. Besides the obscuring of the timestamp, they claimed parts had been slowed down and nearly a minute of footage had been removed. This could have been done to protect the identity of someone who otherwise would be in the video, either related or not to the disappearance. So she's been missing for over 2 weeks now, getting closer to sort of 2.5, 3 weeks. And during that time, brace yourselves, strap yourselves in, guests at the hotel began complaining about low water pressure. Some later claimed their water was coloured black and had an unusual taste. On the morning of February 19, Santiago...
Would you taste the black water?
Well, I'm not
Given
sure
choice.
that they were drinking the black water. I hope they weren't. But people were
washing
also
last
saying
week,
that
yeah.
there was a
Maybe when you
bad
brush your
taste. Well,
teeth and stuff.
even the water that wasn't necessarily black, people were saying, oh, it's got an odd taste to it.
Okay.
So Santiago Lopez, a hotel maintenance worker, went up to investigate what the problem was with the water pressure, the black water, and he found Lam's body in one of 4 1,000-gallon tanks located on the roof, providing water to guest rooms, a kitchen, and a coffee shop. Like that just I just find that imagine going, this water tastes funny and still drinking it. And then finding out later that there's a body in there. So he walked up to the tank and he saw that the hatch was open and looked in and saw Elisa lying face up in the water. She was naked and her clothes were floating in the tank next to her.
Is a water tank what I'm thinking of in terms of, when I think of New York, but I guess I suppose where they, like they've got a quite distinct...
thing or,
But are they concrete?
I think these were metal. Yeah, I think
Could be
these are
steel.
metal.
I think a metal thing like a round thing with like a little...
It's similar to that,
water
except
tap.
that they're round, like cylindrical, flat roof. Yeah.
Flat roof,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But 1,000 litres,
Okay.
so 1,000 gallons, nearly 4,000 litres. So not huge for a water tank. So the tank was drained and cut open since its maintenance hatch was too small to accommodate equipment needed to remove Elisa's body. On
so
February
gross.
the 21st, the Los Angeles Coroner's Office issued a finding of accidental drowning with bipolar disorder as a significant factor. The full coroner's report released in June stated that Elisa's body had been found naked, clothing similar to what she was wearing in the elevator video was floating in the water, coated with a sand-like particulate. Her watch and room key were also found with her. Her body was moderately decomposed and bloated, was mostly greenish with some marbling evident on the abdomen and skin separation evident. There was no evidence of physical trauma, sexual assault or suicide. Toxicology tests showed traces consistent with prescription medication found among her belongings, plus non-prescription drugs such as Cyanotab and ibuprofen. A very small quantity of alcohol, about 0.02 grams, was present, but no other recreational drugs. Investigations and experts have, however, noted that the concentration of her prescription drugs in her system indicated that she was under-medicating or had stopped taking her medications recently.
Yeah.
So no recreational drugs, meaning that she wasn't having any kind of party drugs, under medication, which could then lead to the bipolar disorder. The investigation had determined how Elisa died, but not initially offer an explanation as to how she got into the tank in the first place. Doors and stairs that access the hotel's roof are locked, with only staff having the passcodes and keys, and any attempt to force them would supposedly have triggered an alarm. The hotel's fire escape could have allowed her to bypass those security measures her scent trail was lost near a window that connected to it. So she had walked up to the window, but they couldn't find any scent of her past that. And a video posted on the internet after her death showed that the hotel's roof was easily accessible via the fire escape and that 2 of the lids of the water tanks were open. Apart from the question of how she got on the roof, others asked if she could have gotten into the tank by herself. All 4 tanks were 4 by 8 foot, so 1.2 metres by 2.4 metres, cylinders propped up on concrete blocks. There were no fixed access to them, and hotel workers had to use a ladder to look at the water. They were protected by heavy lids that would be difficult to replace from within, and the hotel employee who found the body said that the lid was open at the time, removing the issue of how she could have closed the lid from inside. So there's a whole lot of speculation about all of these sorts of things by, people who had seen the video and were speculating based on that. People had been to the hotel and tried to understand what had happened. And so, lots and lots of theories kicking around as to what had happened. So police dogs that searched through the hotel and even on the roof shortly after her disappearance was noted did not find any trace of her. So they couldn't smell her getting on the roof even while she was in the tanks, which seems odd. You would kind of think that they might pick that scent up. But so proponents of the theory that the elevator video shows she was under the influence of illicit drugs are not dissuaded by their absence from her toxicology screen, suggesting that they might have...
Who needs facts?
Oh, exactly right. Suggesting they might have broken down during the period of time from her body was decomposing in the tank, or that she might have taken rare cocktails of such drugs that a normal screen would not detect. The very low level of her prescription drugs in her system and the number of pills left in her prescription bottles suggested she was under-medicating, which might have led to a psychotic episode. The autopsy report and its conclusions were also questioned based on the incomplete information. For instance, it does not say what the results of the rape kit and fingernail kit were, or even if they were processed. It also records subcutaneous pooling of blood in Lam's anal area, which some observers suggested was a sign of sexual abuse. I know, right?
Could you just repeat that gland bit? What happened?
It also records subcutaneous pooling of blood in her asshole. Thank you, Smithy.
Right, okay.
Which some observers suggested was a sign of sexual abuse.
Is that piles?
Yeah, well, one pathologist noted it could also have resulted from bloating in the course of the body's decomposition, and her rectum was also prolapsed.
That's interesting. But I don't know enough about decomposition as to whether or not your rectum normally prolapses. I do know that when you die, you can actually, wet yourself or everything just falls out because your muscles are no longer holding it. But I don't know
Prolapse
what happens to the muscles
extreme.
after. It does. But then I was looking at something the other day, slight digress.
When you say something, do you mean a victim?
No, it was... I follow Morbid, another podcast.
Of course you do.
Their Facebook, and someone had posted a picture of a skeleton of a obviously it was a female skeleton, and then there was a little baby skeleton between her thighs, suggesting that she'd given birth to this child whilst dead or buried or whatever. But then someone else said, no, what happens is if a mother with an infant, like a pregnant woman, dies, in the process of their decomposition, it's not unusual for the fetus to be pushed out, basically, in the decomposition of the mother. So that wasn't actually that weird.
So if she had a poo baby inside her...
I find that very hard to do.
I'm just saying.
It's like doing a poo.
No, I know it's not like doing a poo, but all I'm saying is, again, I don't know enough about how decomposition works. But if everything is breaking down and pushing out as you decompose,
how many times have you
I would have
pooed
thought,
and your
however, a
ass
pathologist
has
would have said
prolapsed?
that's
like
normal.
that.
Yeah. Oh, don't ask that question.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did.
It was a joke. It's a joke. But no, look, I'm sure the pathologist would have said that's consistent with the level of decomposition for the period of time. So, the fact that that statement hasn't been made suggests that it is a strange thing.
Also, so more strange things. Since her death, her Tumblr blog was updated, presumably through Tumblr's queue option that allows posts to automatically publish themselves when the user is away.
What's Tumblr?
It's an olden day thing.
It's an olden day thing.
For photos?
It's MySpace, but it was like a few years later.
Was it photos?
Yeah.
It rings a bell, but I
Yeah.
can't remember.
Can't remember either.
Her phone was not
use
found
one,
either with her body or in her hotel room. Whether the continued updates to her blog were facilitated by theft of her phone, the work of a hacker, or through the queue is not known, nor is it known whether the updates are related to her death. Something else that we discovered was that there was there was rumours of a tuberculosis outbreak, which may have been the cause of her death, and it was covered up. And so they think that possibly she died of tuberculosis. People didn't want that to come out, so they hid her body in the water.
Oh, I was going to say, it wouldn't make you go into
and
a tank if you've got tuberculosis.
There's a few things that are interesting about this. So her name is Elisa Lam. The test for tuberculosis is Lam Elisa, so spelled exactly the same way but the other way around. At the university that she studied in British Columbia, I think they have a course or a part that is famous for tuberculosis research.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there was,
and it's called the Lam Elisa unit.
that's right. The Lam Elisa.
I'm sorry, I'm calling conspiratorial bullshit.
Like 100%. But this is where it got to, right? Because they didn't solve anything. They found her body dead. People were just going rife across the internet with things.
I was going to say, how many Reddit threads did you have to go through to get to this?
It's literally that kind of thing.
And there was another one with the postcode to...
Oh, yes, the hotel. So
not the hotel, the bookshop next door.
The last bookstore that she'd been at. If you Google the postcode for that, the pinpoint that comes up for Google Maps
it's on the tank.
Is actually in Canada, where she is from, in the same town, like in the same street or something.
Cemetery where she's buried.
Sorry, the cemetery where she's buried.
Get out of town.
That's because some person has not enough time to do anything. Has got too much time in their hands, rather, and has decided to claim her burial plot on Google Maps and said, because you can do that, right? So if you claim a business or whatever.
But the postcode for the Cecil Hotel, the last bookstore,
translates to longitude, latitude, or something.
So, there's really interesting stuff that comes out, and I don't know how people even find this out.
How much time have you got on your hands?
Yeah.
All right.
So the other bit that I need to say is that in September 2013, Elisa's parents filed a wrongful death suit claiming the hotel failed to inspect and seek out hazards in the hotel that presented an unreasonable risk of danger to both Elisa and other hotel guests, and seeking unspecified damages and burial costs. The hotel argued it could not have reasonably foreseen that Elisa might have entered the water tanks, and since it remained unknown how she got to the water tank, no liability could be assigned. Also, they tested the alarms for the entrance to the roof, and they were all found to be working. So the hotel were basically saying, how can we be held responsible because she's found some way of getting up to the roof that is not public access, and then ended up jumping into the tank.
Yeah.
And so
Can I
was
ask a question?
dismissed. Yes.
How high are these tanks?
2.4 metres, so 8 foot.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So reasonably high. And she's not a huge...
And I was going to say, how tall is she?
Yeah, I don't know that, but...
5'7",
it'd
maybe.
be something like that. Yeah.
Tall person,
Yeah.
Tops. She's probably smaller.
Yeah, solid effort to get up there, although the hotel staff did use ladders, and it doesn't say whether the ladders
were
was
one
kept
there
at the
or
roof
not
or whether they had to take them up there. Yeah.
Mm.
So that is the story of Elisa Lam.
Or Elisa.
I knew I would get that wrong again. Yeah, and the Hotel Cecil. So
If it's any consolation, as I said earlier, my sister's name is Elisa, and her whole high school, everyone called her Eliza.
Yeah.
You are not alone.
So there you go. That's the story. No obvious crime, I think. You could say
That's the mystery of it.
That's
The
right.
mystery.
Makes it hard to find out who you're going to sentence.
I did just go and have a little look at the water tanks.
Yeah.
Because you can see.
And what did you
So what
think?
did you find?
Uh,
They're big?
have a look at it online. Look, I just looked up Elisa Lam water tanks, and you can see the foil on the roof.
Yeah.
It would be some effort to get in there. You'd want to be going there on purpose, I think.
I do think so. Just in terms of what I think happened based on
what do
all
you
of
think
the
happened?
research I did, I think she was having a bipolar episode.
So do I.
Although it's odd that kind of led to suicide the way that happened, because it's strange that she's got into the water tank. But so I think she's accessed the roof via the fire escape.
Yeah.
And climbed into the water tanks. And I don't know whether she's done that because it's hot. I would think not, given that it's in January in Los Angeles. It would be winter for them, so that doesn't make sense. But I guess there's something that made her want to get into the tank. They did say in one thing that we saw that there was a lot of noise on the roof. And possibly she, if she's sort of hypersensitized to the noise, she thought if I get in the water, she will get silence underwater. And I think if she did end up getting into the tanks herself, to get out would have been incredibly difficult because of the depth of them and the strength needed to pull yourself through.
It would depend where it was, wouldn't it? I don't know that.
Just having had a quick look at it myself, the interesting thing is that there's sort of a little fence line that runs along the edge of two of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't quite determine the distance between that and the top of one of those two tanks.
Yeah.
Looks like maybe 2 feet. But I reckon you could climb up on that fence and then get yourself up on those. So when you were telling the story, I kind of pictured it
along
like
the backside with
nothing
the
that
white
could
top.
hoist you along the backside. See the bars?
In front of that.
I reckon if you wanted to, you could get on those. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I tend to.
Also, the fire escape, so you'd to do it, you'd risk falling to your death because it's external. The last bit of it is a ladder, not stairs, and it's not covered. So if she fell from the ladder, she would potentially fall to her death. So she obviously had some pretty strong willpower or some solid nerves to kind of put herself in that position, which could, to your point, mean that she could climb up that fence on the outside. I don't think that, to me, the issue so much isn't how she got into the tanks, but more so why. And I don't think she did it to commit suicide. But it's odd that she was naked. It's odd that her clothes were in there because
I've got a theory on the naked.
But go, do tell.
Oh, do you remember when we talked about Praveen's case, paradoxical undressing. So it's possible. We don't know when she became naked and how long between her being in that tank and her drowning. So, depending on what the water temperature was, if your body is in under whatever degrees for a certain period of time, you will start to develop hypothermia.
Yeah.
They haven't talked about that in the pathology, which is interesting, but her taking her clothes off for paradoxical undressing, if she was experiencing hypothermia, is actually not an odd thing. It happens.
Yeah, I almost think she got in to the tank with a specific purpose in mind, which was to then obviously get out again. And I think she found herself in the tank and couldn't get out. And I would think that your clothes would weigh you down in that scenario.
Possibly
so if she's trying to push off the bottom to jump up to reach the gap, the tank lid, the way she came in, you might well take your clothes off to go, well, all right, I'll be able to be more streamlined if I'm trying to do that. But if you went into the tank with the intention of swimming or cooling down or whatever, you would normally take your clothes off, or at least some of them before you get in. Yeah. So that in itself is odd, because I'm not sure too many people would go into a tank fully clothed. Yeah, I don't know. Potentially she fell in.
Is there any chance she got in for whatever reason, have a swim or whatever, and water was used and the level came down and she couldn't get back out?
No, I don't think so, because she drowned, and so it would have to come down quite a way. You're talking sort of if it's
feet.
2.5, 3 feet, she'd be able to stand up and breathe comfortably.
It's just that difference between the top where you can pull yourself out of the water, but the water's dropped down a few feet and you can no longer reach up, and because you can't hit the bottom.
Yeah.
So you're in that sort of stuck in treading water because you can't touch the bottom and you can't get out the top as well.
But it could have been a foot down already, right? And so trying to lift yourself up from that is hard, and trying to kick off from the bottom through 7 feet of water to get to the top would be
really,
hard.
Really hard. Yeah, agreed.
Particularly clothed.
Yeah. I tend to think that she probably did just climb up there on her own, like get up there on her own through the fire escape. Yes, I can see why people would have this kind of, ooh, what's going on, because she's behaving strangely in the lift. But, if she's under-medicated, she probably is having some kind of episode. I don't think she was interacting with anyone when she was doing all that talk. That wasn't even normal movement and whatever. So
she may have been
know.
interacting with someone that she thought was
in her
there.
head.
Yeah, that actually wasn't.
And again, I have no idea what it is like to have a bipolar episode. So I can't speak to it. I don't know whether you do hallucinate. I don't, I'm not sure about how it goes. But something was definitely up with her, and I think it was an accidental death. I don't think she meant to kill herself, and the things that you talked about in terms of the findings from the pathology, again, could have been just to do with the situation in terms of her unfortunate being in there for 2 weeks, the effect of that on decomposition on the body. So I don't really have anyone to...
Were there any suspects?
I tell you what, I do have
No.
someone.
None.
Well, it was ruled an accidental death. It wasn't ruled a murder.
I think it's just a case of her being not well.
It's an accident. It is. I think it was probably a correct ruling. I would say, though, if I was going to pull anyone up for their behaviour, it's probably all these conspiracy theorists.
That's where my
who
head
come
went
up with
too.
all this nonsense
And let it go.
and waste everyone's time. And as you said about the Google Maps and all that sort of stuff, it's like, oh, for goodness sake, it's a tragic incident.
Yeah.
Let the family get on with grieving it. Let people, get on with the appropriate response to this. Let's not try and make it some kind of alien invasion nonsense. I know they didn't say that, but it's up there,
The police officer investigating was saying how difficult it was to investigate because it had become so public and because so many theories were being thrown around, and they almost have to disprove the theories and to be seen to be doing a good job. Which I think is particularly difficult.
Not a good use of resources. So,
Complete waste of everyone's time. Yeah. What about you guys?
I'll go, Swanee. You should.
I don't. I'm with Schmitty. I just think it's accidental death. I think that she is. I don't think anyone's to blame. I mean, if there's no footage or anything else of anybody looking suspicious or anything to incriminate somebody at the very least, and we haven't got much to work with, and it would suggest the way that she'd been behaving with people in other rooms and stuff, things were not right. Like, she clearly wasn't in a good headspace. So I just think she's just been in the middle of an episode and it's gone wrong for her.
Yeah, I can't see – I couldn't look at it and rule it as suicide. I don't think there's anything that to me suggests that she was – suicidal and she deliberately decided to go into a tank, get naked and die. Like, that just sounds like a hell of a way to go.
It's an accident.
You would jump, I think, off the roof or find
much easier,
any number of other ways, but that is just...
If she'd read the Wikipedia entry on the hotel or did any research on it, there was a plethora of ways she could do herself in based on what the previous residents had done. It was all there.
Exactly right. Yeah. It is fascinating, I think, that there is a hotel that has such a history.
I agree.
Of suicide, murder, serial killings, unsolved murders, all that sort of thing. That's the bit, I guess, that adds so much to the story.
Speak to it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe the bloke who built the place, you can't even say to him he shouldn't have built it where he built it, because it wasn't Skid Row when he built it. It was, the 1920s when there was money everywhere and everyone would have loved a hotel like that.
It reminds me of the Chelsea Hotel in New York, which they often refer to, but I mean, I don't think anything on this scale, but it would have like Sid and Nancy, there were lots of people who had drug overdoses in it. It was a really, heavy place to be, where lots of drug use, lots of people who are on the sort of the edges of society because they can afford to be there. So it's kind of like a hothouse of crimes really waiting to happen.
Oh, sorry, I'm laughing because you're talking about something quite serious about another hotel that has this sort of infamy. And all I can think about is, well, if it had more gothic styling, it could have been like the Ghostbusters hotel.
True.
And it was actually built to bring an ancient Sumerian god or whatever back from the dead. And that's where my mind goes, yeah. So I had a question, because as you were talking about it, I remember listening to... And that's why we drink, talking about this story. and I didn't pay much attention to it at the time, but there was something about a Korean elevator game. Did you see anything about that when you were doing the
Korean
story?
elevator game.
There's some weird, again, it's probably a Reddit thread or 3000. I wondered if you'd had it. But there's some game that some people thought she might have been playing where she's pressing the buttons in a certain order. It's some nonsense. It's like, it reminded me of, the Ring, it's that kind of spooky story of this idea that you can, if you play it in a certain order and you do certain things, you can go to another world.
Right.
It's like your Slender Man thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So there was some suggestion that might have been what she was doing.
Yeah.
But again, fuck if I know. I think she's just, doing whatever's going on in her head. I don't think she had a plan to go to another world.
Yeah. So I must say the other thing that that was talked about, so there's a lot of spin-offs. This story has ended up in popular culture. The How to Get Away with Murder, the Castle, the ABC series, that kind of thing, a whole lot of different stories. But there is a story that happened before this in 2005 in the horror film Dark Water.
Oh, yeah.
And there was an American remake of it, but it was originally a Japanese film. And in the film, the mother and daughter move into a rundown apartment building. A dysfunctional elevator and discoloured water gushing from the building's faucets eventually lead them to the building's rooftop water tank, where they discover the body of a girl who had been reported missing from the building a year earlier.
Well, that's kind of
so wrong. Sorry, was that made before?
That was
this
made
happened?
before. Yeah.
So she could have even seen this,
wow.
or someone else could have seen it, or definitely seen it.
Oh,
yeah, and I've got in my head that the girl in the movie was wearing similar clothes to it was something like that, similar clothes to Elisa. So
cut it out. Now you're being all spooky.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? There's so many weird things where you go, is it just a plain old psychotic episode that has gone wrong, or was there something more sinister? And I think there's just all these little subplots that kind of build up to going, what if?
This is exactly how conspiracy theorists and QAnon work, Clarky. They get people like you questioning all these things, and the next thing I know, the next time you come on, you'll have a tinfoil hat on because you'll be worried about the aliens scrambling your brain.
I think you know me way better than that. A conspiracy theorist, I am totally not. Like, I just literally just go, what a load of shit. But it is interesting.
That was a hell of a coincidence.
It is interesting as you read through it to just go, wow, all these things, no wonder people who are kind of
draw these connections.
Predisposed to that just go, what? Something has happened here. I can kind of get why if you were into that stuff, you would be going, I need to understand this more.
And that's probably why the aforementioned podcast did talk about this stuff, and the Cecil Hotel, because it's got all this woo-woo stuff about it. Yeah. Yep.
It's very interesting. Anyway, There you go. That, my friends, is my story.
I know we haven't really, this is because it's a mystery, we're not really sentencing, but Clarky, did you have anyone you wanted to have a crack at?
Oh, look, I didn't, although in the Netflix series, Stuart and I both got annoyed at the lady who ran the thing, didn't we? She was just annoying. So
she called the CEO of the hotel or something.
Yeah, she was a hotel CEO.
She didn't blink. She's one of these blonde-haired beauties, and just didn't blink. I'm thinking, what's wrong with your eyes, sweetheart?
And I feel for her because she's obviously managing a shit hotel during a shit time. But I also just went, just stop it. That's just me being judgy. So I don't know that I should sentence her to anything because I think she's probably been through enough.
She's a Karen. Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably the closest thing. Although I think what we probably should acknowledge is the incredible nature of the Cecil Hotel, which could possibly give rise to a couple of other stories for us.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a source of evil. I go back to my Ghostbusters. Probably there is something in that,
There you go. But you're going to be wearing the tinsel in a minute and the propeller head.
Tinsel.
Was it? Oh, foil. Tinfoil. Yeah. See, that's how much I know about conspiracy theorists.
No, I get very angry about that sort of stuff. Anyway, great story though, and very sad for Elisa Lam's family, and for all involved. But it has made for quite an interesting story. So
well done.
Mm-hmm.
Good one, Clarky. So thank you very much.
Pleasure, treasures.
And as we say every week,
Ciao.
Already.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Trial by Wine. You can contact us at trialbywine@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Trial by Wine on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to support us, you can become a patron at www.patreon.com, Trial by Wine, or visit our website www.trialbywine.com to donate to us. Your support will help us cover many more cases and apply wacky sentences. We really appreciate you listening and hope you tell everyone about us. Our cover art is by John Christo and music is by Beauchamp from pixabay.com.